Hello, everybody, and welcome back. What's going on?
Oh, somebody's in trouble. That's what's going on.
Somebody's
Allegedly
in
in trouble.
trouble.
For the
Somebody got
first time, it's not me.
somebody got called to the principal's office. Is what happened.
Yeah, basically. So, for those of you who might not have been here last week on Friday, we had a game of Star Trek Adventures, and Commander Vah, played by Jordan here, was the acting captain while Captain Snowy was away. I don't know. I guess at one of those Ryza leadership conferences that are just so popular. I don't know what the deal is.
So popular.
Um, and yeah, during that, there was an altercation with a brand new species that has never been detected by Starfleet or the Klingons before, and it ended violently.
It
Very,
ended.
very violently.
It ended, is what happened.
A lot of people died. So now there is, in fact, a court-martial, and so the captain is here because, on behalf of Commander Vah. Commander Vah is there. We are in a courtroom, which the thumbnail should give you an indication of more or less what it looks like.
I did
The
have fun
judges
making
have
that
gathered-
thumbnail. That was a good time.
Yeah, it was cool. The judges who have gathered to hear this case include Admiral Hebert, the commanding officer of Narendra Station. There is General Kargan, the commanding officer of the Klingon Defense Force over at Narendra Station, as well as over on sort of a conference call, Admiral Tarek from Starfleet Command, who is in fact a Vulcan. And our prosecutor is Lieutenant Shralet, a Andorian. And of course, there's also a bailiff who is a big burly Bajoran guy who looks like he's probably seen a few scraps.
I didn't make character art for all these guys because I found out about this, like, while I was still on vacation.
Yeah.
But I also, like, was on vacation, so I didn't look that closely until I got back, and I was just like, what did you do?
All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have some opening statements, and first we'll call the whole thing into session, have some opening statements. There'll be a little bit of argument, and we're probably not going to go for like the normal 2 hours that we do. This is just episode 10.5. So yeah. All right. So you guys arrive at the courtroom, and there are a couple tables, one for the defense and one for the prosecution. The prosecutor is already sitting there, looking through notes, flipping through actual books, because as a lawyer, she feels like it's nice and traditional to have some actual paper books. And there is an audience where Petty Officer Billy is taking up an inordinate number of spaces because he and his exosuit are rather large, being a beluga whale.
She.
I can't be racist. I have a whale in my party.
That's a great point.
Yes.
I have a whale here in support of me right now today.
Yeah.
I have a personal interest in this proceeding because humanity has not been very well known for being good to whales in the past. They have been known to lose whole species of my kind.
Good thing to point out and note, none of us are human. One of the prosecutors is human, or judges.
No, one of the judges is human. That is the only human that is officially in here. Yeah, there's a. Let's see, we've got a Cation, a Trill, a beluga whale, a Bajoran, an Andorian, a Vulcan, a Klingon, and yeah, the one human who is she's the admiral who's in charge of the Starfleet department over at Narendra Station. All right, so as you guys are taking your seats, looking over whatever it is you're looking at, the bailiff says, "All rise," and General Kargan and Admiral Hebert walk in and take their seats with a prominent empty spot, and then on the side, a view screen pops up with the picture of Admiral Tarek. And Admiral Hebert, who is presiding over this for the most part, says, "All right, everyone sit down."
When Tarek's picture comes up, Va rolls her eyes and whispers, "Of course it's Tarek."
I'm just gonna do a nudge.
Admiral Hebert bangs a gavel, because, gavels, they're cool.
Bang, bang, bang.
All right. We are here in the case of Commander Malkah Vah versus the Federation. We'll start with opening statements from the prosecution, then the defense, then we'll hear arguments. Lieutenant Charlotte, are you ready? And she says, yes, Admiral, I'm ready. General Cargan seems kind of annoyed to be here. Like, you can tell that this is clearly not what he wants to be spending his day doing. He's probably not used to sitting through Federation trials, never mind participating in them.
Fair.
All right.
That's the judge that I am most convinced is going to be on my side.
Cargan, yeah, there's a fair chance. You did give a bunch of his warriors honorable deaths in defense of the Klingon Empire. Or, I guess, facilitate their honorable deaths in defense of the... You didn't technically kill those guys. Alright, so... Lieutenant Charlotte is a relatively young Andorian woman who looks like she probably just passed her, JAG officer's tests and whatnot. So this is probably not her first case, but she probably hasn't done a whole lot of cases as a prosecutor for the Starfleet JAG. And so she stands up and she says, on stardate, and I don't remember the stardate, so I'm just going to say that she said the right one. Commander Vah, while acting captain of the USS Kongzi, encountered an unknown alien species, and while initially the first contact went peacefully, rather than allowing some loss of cargo, precipitated events that resulted in the loss of life of not only hundreds of Klingon warriors, dozens of Starfleet engineering staff, but also, according to sensor logs, potentially thousands of alien lives of a brand new civilization that we have not encountered, and who was claiming territorial sovereignty in the area, granted unbeknownst to us, but in violation of the Prime Directive, Admiral Vah ignored their territorial sovereignty, and I will show that as a result, Commander Vah has broken the Prime Directive, is guilty of, at the very least, manslaughter, and is currently unfit to wear the Starfleet uniform. And because this is going to be a quick thing, that's the opening statement. All right, so who is going to be given an opening statement for the defense?
I'll speak in my own defense.
I mean, if you want me to do it, I haven't watched the episode, and I found out kind of part of what I got a TLDR of what had happened 20 minutes ago. So I don't know if you want me to do that.
Oh, we'll let Commander Vah do it.
All right.
Go ahead and give your opening statement.
I'll start by nodding to the lieutenant and saying, I'm not an admiral anymore, Lieutenant. And then...
The sass starts
you feel like if she could blush, she probably would have.
I'll say, Admirals, General, gathered guests. These charges are nothing more than a trumped-up excuse to remove me from duty. On the stardate in question, I was ordered to escort supplies vital for the Federation's mission in the Shackleton Expanse. Not only for our mission to explore, but also for our mission of cooperation with our Klingon allies, a joint venture between us and our honorable warriors, the Klingons. We were briefed that the area was full of pirates and raiders, and that ships had gone missing in the area. This is the intelligence I was given. And so, after being attacked, not by the ship itself, but by an unknown weapon that led to environmental dangers that would have put the entire convoy at risk, we were attacked by a species we had never encountered who claimed sovereignty but provided no proof whatsoever for the sovereignty. Despite this, and despite the protocols which would have justified my defense of the freighters with lethal force, I took extraordinary measures to avoid conflict, but conflict was thrust upon us. The Starfleet is not a military, but neither is Starfleet a doormat. I acted in the defense of my crew, I acted in the defense of our allies, and I acted to further the mission, nothing more.
All right, give me a presence and command roll. This is going to be difficulty 0. This is just here to help you all build up a little momentum.
Pull up my sheet.
Can I assist?
Presence.
No, because you didn't say anything.
I clapped at the end. I'll
Looking.
clap.
Oh, I feel like this is going to be super valuable. So my last host, Lanara Vah, who was, we've decided now, an admiral. One of her areas of specialty was Starfleet law.
Oh, of course.
So for this mission, I'll have that focus.
To be
Will
fair,
that focus apply?
that was a pretty
Yeah,
good
oh,
argument.
absolutely, that applies. Yeah, no, that applies.
All right.
Rough. How did you manage that?
2 17s.
Yikes! All right, well,
Oh, no, good start. This is how you ended
All
up
right.
here in the first place, isn't it?
Basically.
Bad rolls, yeah, basically. Look, bad rolls are also fun. It's sometimes fun to
Hey.
do poorly.
Yeah.
And I, unlike my cowardly crew, have no problem giving the GM threat in order to buy momentum.
Or just fire quantum torpedoes, because every time you do, it costs a threat.
I have a hard time believing that Craig didn't want to fire torpedoes.
Oh, he was all about it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't override his controls like over his objections. I just did it because he had already gone that turn.
Right. Like, get out of the way! I'm firing photon torpedoes this turn.
Move!
All right. So Lieutenant Schrollett stands back up and says, "What evidence of sovereignty beyond the claim is necessary in an unexplored region of space? We, according to the Prime Directive, are not to interfere with the internal politics of alien species without their permission unless they are not simply claiming to defend their sovereignty, but actually attacking sovereign Federation territory. The claim of sovereignty should have at least been given some deference beyond simply allowing for scans. This could possibly be provoking a war with an unknown civilization of unknown power, but that's at least capable of creating starships that are a challenge for some of our cutting-edge Starfleet ships, as well as for fairly powerful Klingon warships." And then General Kargan says, "A war might be a good time. It's been a little while since we've fought a war in this region. Maybe this is just what we need. What better way to learn about the aliens of the area than to go to war with them and see how they fight and die?" Admiral Tarek says, "General, I would like to remind you that this is a Federation trial, and however much you might desire conflict with whatever species are in the Shackleton Expanse, that is not Starfleet's purpose here, nor has Starfleet pledged to assist you in any such conflicts." Kargan says, "Why did I agree to this?" And then Admiral Hebert turns and says, "Because one of your ships got blown up, that's why." He's like, "Oh, yeah. I suppose that's a good reason."
I'm gonna go. Okay, if I'm allowed.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll stand up and I will adjust my uniform and say,
Ooh, the Picard maneuver.
yeah, I like the Picard maneuver. The admirals and judges, I don't think we ought to be taking good officers, doing good work, and punishing them based on pure speculation. We have no reason to believe that this is going to start a war of any size, let alone a large-scale one like the prosecutor is suggesting.
Lieutenant Schrollett says, "It's not good work to end a first contact scenario with the destruction of the newly contacted species ship, with the death of thousands of members of that species, which could have been prevented. Was there an attempt to target weapons? Not according to the logs.
Vah has been in Starfleet for decades. This is
Then
not a
should have
decision.
known better.
This is not a decision that is made lightly or without reason. It is a decision made out of necessity.
Lieutenant Trollet, if I may ask, how many space combat missions have you led?
Personally, none.
Oh, so allow me to educate you then, Lieutenant. Targeting a specific system on a ship that we did not know or understand could have just as easily led to to our weapons being ineffectual and a greater loss of life. You can't always shoot for the smallest target, Lieutenant. I'm surprised they didn't teach you that at the Academy.
Starfleet officers accept a certain level of risk when they join Starfleet. And the fact that you would have exposed them to that risk is not a good excuse for the murder of a newly contacted ship. Also, we got a super chat here from Zarna Rankar for 10 beaver bucks, who says, "Justice for Space Whale, justice for Space Whale, justice for Space Whale. Broken ship is outside with a protest of a small size with a space hippies and space Greenpeace, with Dapper's permission, that is."
Space PETA.
Thank you very much. Alright, so Admiral Tarek says, Commander Vah, this is
Admiral.
not the first time that a Vah has appeared in a setting like this to answer for significant loss of life, is it?
It is not, Admiral.
I see.
I believe you were captain at the time.
I was. And it seems like there might be a pattern of behavior, which, while perhaps I will leave it to the deliberation, possibly not criminal, at least indicates a level of poor judgment. Doesn't that seem reasonable?
Admiral, regardless of the actions of my previous host, the new joining is a new person. And so any trend you may draw, given the actions of my previous host, it would be erroneous. That would be no more relevant than the actions of your father being reflected upon you.
That's racist.
Haven't some Trill symbionts been removed from what I will call circulation as a result of inducing criminal behavior in subsequent and repeated hosts?
That is possible. That has happened, yes.
So it's not exactly the same as you charging me with my father's crimes, since while this new joining is treated legally as a new person, there are circumstances in which the actions of previous hosts can affect the fate of the current symbiont.
Yes, but you would have to look at the entire history of the joined Trill if you were going to use that. You're using two, not even consecutive hosts.
And
If the symbiont Vah is such a dangerous joining, then why have none of the other symbionts exhibited the behavior that you say is dangerous?
And I would add that we're talking about extreme situations under fire, and we're talking about 2 instances over the course of multiple lifetimes.
I would say it was more than 2 that could have resulted in such an outcome.
Well, but any combat scenario could result in any sort of outcome. That's fallacious. With all due respect, sir.
Lieutenant Charlotte says, was there at any point an attempt to target any non-vital systems on the belligerent ship?
Yeah, the attempt to lower the shields and allow them to interact with us peacefully.
I mean, after combat had started.
After combat is
Once combat had started, the enemy ship showed sufficient power to be a serious threat, not just to the Kong Z, but to the entire convoy. Had we limited our response, it was my judgment as a tactician of no little renown that a limited response would have led to the destruction of further ships. We didn't have that luxury, Lieutenant.
Tanelia has some Canadian in her.
With all due respect, fuck you.
It's never a war crime
So-
the first time you do it.
So that was a no then, Commander.
Yes, Lieutenant, that was a no.
Thank you. I would submit that without even the attempt to target any systems, any claim that it would have been too difficult to target systems on the ship that were not vital to maintaining the life on board the ship is simply speculation and should be struck from the record.
Your Honors, if you're going to suggest that my commander was supposed to take targeted random shots on what has already been explained to be an alien ship that we do not know or understand, for all we know, targeting it differently could have cost more lives, not through a mishit, but a hit on the wrong space. We don't know the layout of these ships. It's not possible for us to even make an attempt to really target anything else.
Admiral Hebert looks up and has her pad handy and says, "The logs indicate that the Kongzi was able to determine that weapons were charging. Wouldn't that be enough to target the weapons?"
Even granting your assertion, the enemy ship was given the opportunity to cease hostilities once they were disabled. Once the ship was no longer capable of remaining in the fight, channels were open and they were given the opportunity to stand down. And rather than stand down, they chose to fire on defenseless escape pods in order to slaughter the crew of the Klingon warbird.
Lieutenant Charlotte stands up and says, "I don't dispute the bellicose nature of this new alien species that we've encountered, and not even found out the name of. What I am saying is that this is the Federation, and in the Federation, even murderers are not subject to summary execution."
I'm gonna stand up and, slap the table. I'm just gonna be like, so we should let our allies die?
Metageeky Platypus Librarian for $2 says, "Vah offered surrender once the shields were down." And by the way, everybody, whatever the prosecutor is saying is said by me, but that is not Dapper Dinosaur endorsing these views. I just want to let you know.
I also want to be clear that I am defending Vah, not because Vah is my commander, not because I agree with what Vah did.
It's very complicated.
I'll say that I'm not arguing purely about the bellicose nature of our adversaries, but I'm disputing the picture that you're painting, where we were aggressive without restraint and acted recklessly in a manner that would have put lives at risk. At the time, as soon as I perceived the threat to no longer be present, I did everything in my power to stop the fight. If I were the bloodthirsty killer that you are attempting to paint me as, why would I have given them the opportunity to surrender?
There's no dispute about the fact that you offer to surrender. The question is, what is the appropriate response after that is rejected? Is it simply to summarily condemn an entire vessel to death? Or is it to at least attempt to disable their ability to cause further damage? You did not even attempt to pursue that, and that is fundamentally why we are here, regardless of anything else that happened. And we got for $2, Sapphire Science Nimby's Light says, "Gotta go, I'll watch the VOD to see who gets married."
We are at the courthouse.
Pastor Billy is actually going to marry General Kargan. It's a surprise twist.
No, the real surprise twist would be fucking Tregan.
Tregan shows up to get married.
It brings a clone of Hawk. I saved some of his DNA. In my definitely existing vagina, I don't know.
I mean, I'm assuming that Dr. Friggin has some kind of reproductive tract.
I saved it in an orifice somewhere, don't worry about it. A throat sac somewhere that's got...
ONB Magna-Chondria are the powerhouse of the soul, who has been a member for 3 months. Thank you very much, ONB. Magna-Chondria are the powerhouse of the soul.
Why do you let me play this game? Like, I can just produce. You don't have to let me be here.
I have fun with it.
I'm such a problem. Okay, sorry, go on.
You say that like I don't want problems in a TTRPG. Of course I want problems in a TTRPG. That's like half the point. All right. So, General Kargan looks up and says, I'm not entirely sure what the problem is here. This was an attempt at piracy from space that we don't actually have any knowledge of that was under any kind of sovereignty.
Or government, for that matter.
Have there been sensor outposts that have detected this alien species before? Is that something that we have any record of? Admiral Hebert looks and says, I haven't seen any reports of that. This does seem like the first time we detected them. And General Kargan says, so we've never encountered this species before in this territory, but now they're claiming sovereignty of it?
I'm going to lean over to Vah for a second and just say, and if there's no witnesses, there's nobody to go back and tattle on us to whoever is supposedly their sovereign too.
O&B Magna Conjure are the powerhouse of the soul for $2 says, there's no space murder, only happy little space accidents.
I do like, though, keeping in mind that I am a Cation, so when I lean over and, like, whisper to you, you got little whisker tickles on your face.
All right. So, Lieutenant Charlotte says, in the absence of clear and convincing evidence otherwise, Starfleet has the general policy of accepting claims of sovereignty from newly encountered species.
There are known knowns and known unknowns.
While that may be the case, Lieutenant, this was not a situation where the alien species asked us to vacate the premises or to cease trespassing in their space, at which point we would have left. It was nothing short of a shakedown. Should we surrender our starships to anyone who claims sovereign space? What if they had asked for additional freighters? What if they'd asked for the Kongzi? Should I have given it all in order to avoid a fight?
And the lives of the people that they were already killing. Who's to say that
Lieutenant Charlotte says,
over? Go ahead.
None of those things happened, but what did happen was essentially a request for you to pay an import tax. Something that is well within the general bounds of acceptable interstellar law.
When the import tax is being requested by a stationed government and stationed not by pirates, known pirates, that's not a tax.
This ship was not a known pirate ship.
If we're going to talk about hypotheticals and things that we don't know, ships have gone missing in this area. That's the very reason that the Kongzi was sent to escort these transports. I submit it is just as likely that this is not the first encounter with the species. This is just the first encounter that led survivors.
Now, the logs that I'm receiving from both you and those that were transmitted by the Paid Polvij before its destruction indicate that you dropped out of warp and were not immediately under attack, but instead that this was the result of electromagnetic disturbances in the region. Could that not also be an explanation, rather than just assuming that this new species is killing everyone who enters this space?
These weren't simple electromagnetic disturbances. They were not natural, and they were directed.
And did you confirm that this alien species was the source of these electromagnetic disturbances? Or is that an assumption that you're making?
I did not confirm that this alien species, who we didn't know existed before they came in and charged weapons and pointed them at us, was also responsible for the unknown weapon. I didn't have time to investigate whether it was just a massive coincidence that we were attacked by an unknown weapon and an alien unknown species arrived at the same time.
I don't see anything in the logs that would confirm that these disturbances, while not natural, were actually a targeted weapon. They were suffusing an entire region of space, and do we have any reason to think that this alien species was simply immune to them?
I believe that there is a bit of a disconnect happening here, perhaps due to lack of experience, and I'm gonna like just hardline glance at the at the prosecutor.
Shots fired.
These aren't ideal scenarios. if you are in an ideal scenario and you have time to do a ton of research and find out, which I'm sure admirals, and I'm going to also like directly look at the Klingon, when you are in combat scenarios, you do not have the time or the life to waste to find out exact details every single time. You do it when you can, which is exactly what Vah was trying to do multiple times by trying to exit the combat scenario, de-escalate the situation, and request at least a standstill or a surrender. Them refusing to do so multiple times and continuing to take life after life after life, specifically Klingon lives.
Objection. There was
Overruled.
there was no multiple attempts at requesting surrender in the logs. There was one.
There was only one attempt to request surrender, but there were multiple attempts to de-escalate, which I think is the
Which is what I was saying, yes.
Just want to make sure the record is clear and factual.
The prosecutor hasn't been in these scenarios and does not have this kind of experience. And I appreciate that by law and by ideal situation where you were given large periods of time, where you are not having torpedoes fired at you and you are not having innocent escape pods being shot out into space and being blown up, is a lot easier time to be able to assess all of these factors, but you do not get the time to do those in these scenarios. And you all on this panel are very, very familiar with this.
Admiral Tarek asks Captain Tillia, Captain, do you think it is the general habit of JAG officers in Starfleet to have achieved their posting after long and illustrious careers as tacticians and warriors? Is that your impression of Starfleet legal?
I think you're gonna have to actually give that to me, the player, in English, because I don't know what that meant.
Basically, Admiral Tarek is basically saying, do you think our lawyers are typically like battle-hardened veterans of multiple wars? Like, do you think that's how the legal system here works?
Oh, yeah. No, of course not. That's what I'm pointing out. The ideal that is being
and yet,
argued
Captain,
for.
We still use our lawyers to discuss legal matters. The question here is not the combat effectiveness of Commander Vah's battle acumen. Apparently, it is quite good. There's no disputing that she was very effective at ending the lives of these newly contacted aliens. That's not an issue.
Facts.
What is at issue is whether or not what was done was a violation of Federation law and Starfleet regulation, which is Lieutenant Shralet's specialty. Attacking her professional abilities is not appropriate for this venue.
I am not questioning her legal capabilities. I am arguing that her framing of the situation is unreasonable.
And doing so in reference to her personal life experiences.
Doing so in reference to combat experience specifically, which is necessary for this type of procedure.
Just like in any procedure where you would call an expert witness, we are relying on the expertise of the officers here, particularly our Klingon ally, who have engaged in combat and do understand the intricacies, much as I would call on an engineer for the intricacies of warp field dynamics if we were discussing that.
And here we have a legal question at issue, and we are calling upon the specialties of a lawyer.
But the legal question is about combat. The legal question is about actions taken during combat. And like I said, I'm not questioning her legal expertise. I'm arguing her framing of a combat scenario.
Admiral Hebert looks up and says, Commander, how long would it have taken for you to attempt to target the enemy ship's weapons?
It's unknown, though the enemy ship was apparently very resilient, and several shots were fired at no effect. So it's impossible to say with certainty. However, what I can say with certainty is that had we fired at a subsystem it would have taken longer to disable them than a more directed fire would have taken.
And we have to assume that they were the weapon system.
And you at no point thought about targeting their weapon systems. Is that correct?
It was something I considered, but I elected not to because I judged the risk to the Klingon bird of prey, the ejected crew that were being attacked, and our mission to guard the freighters would have been at risk had we delayed.
And so you judged the well-being of the crew of one freighter above the lives of what seems to be a crew of thousands.
I judged the well-being of the crews that were assigned to me to protect, and the crews who are being currently attacked by an aggressive and bellicose species to be above those of the aggressors. Just as I would judge the life of if a person attacked someone in an alley and I were forced to, if I were required to use force to stop it, then I would be valuing one life above the other, that of the victim.
And as well as the lives for the mission, like, that needed the cargo that we were escorting.
Good point.
All right, so this is very truncated, but I think we're going to start with some closing statements because, like I said, I don't really feel like I want to be here for a full 2 hours just for this.
We could argue forever.
Yeah, exactly, right? So we're going to assume that there was more testimony and whatnot. Ultimately, there are going to be, like, roles that come out of this. And hey, what's up? Broken Ship is here, everybody. Chanting outside, "Save the whale! Save the whale!"
Save the space whale!
Justice for the space whale that was, like, basically just put out of its misery.
Trash, if you need to pee, you should have done that before we started.
I did, and then I finished drinking this whole thing of tea, and I drank a whole, like, half a bottle of water. I'm tiny. I have a small bladder. Leave me alone.
Unbelievable. Well, we'll be done soon, so can you hold it for a little bit?
That's why I typed it in chat, so I wouldn't be disruptive. But here you are, making me disruptive.
Too late.
All right. So,
Justice for space whale.
Justice for my bladder.
Lieutenant Charlotte stands up to give her closing statement and says, "Admirals, General, we have seen clearly that there was no attempt to target any subsystems that could have resolved this without enormous loss of life. And yes, I will acknowledge that there was additional risk to Starfleet personnel, but as we have already established, Starfleet personnel sign up with the acknowledgement that there is inherent risk, and that some of them may in fact even end up dying to uphold Starfleet's principles. And destroying an entire ship with thousands of sapient creatures on board when there were alternate options available is not in line with Starfleet values, nor is it in line with the Prime Directive. And I would submit to you that the evidence is clear and convincing and leaves no reasonable doubt that while Commander Vah may not exactly be our worst criminal in all of Federation history, certainly these actions demand some consequences. And I rest my case on that. All right. Closing statement for the defense.
Justice for the whale.
Yes, justice for the whale. I do have a side point, like out of character.
Oh, okay.
Didn't we target the sails at one point, like their solar sails?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, you might want to bring that up because that was
it was brought up.
Oh, was it? I might have missed it.
It just didn't.
My bad.
Not too many people seemed like they wanted to focus on that fact, so we didn't.
Fair enough.
All right, what is your closing statement there, defense?
General, what we have heard is a case based on hypotheticals, a case based on what ifs and may-haves. But the reality that we live in is that supplies vital for the Federation's efforts got to their destination because of the actions of myself and my crew. The reality we live in is that many more lives were saved than were lost because of our decisive action. The reality we live in is not only did we save this convoy, and did we save the lives of some of our allies, the rest of whom have gone off to a glorious life in the halls of, the name escapes me, but Bob would know it. Stovacor, right. We have shown that our ships in the area can no longer be attacked with impunity. The Federation has many values, and we strive to uphold them to the best that we can. But one of the responsibilities of an executive officer and a captain is the well-being of their crew. And I refuse to serve in a station where I am asked to lay down my weapons and accept execution in the face of piracy. The defense rests.
Okay. All right. I want you to make another presence and command, and because we don't really have much scope for using threat, I'm not going to allow buying threat. But here's the deal. How well you do on this will determine how many votes go your way or not.
Do I get an assist?
Yes, you can assist on this one because you have been assisting with your words here.
With my words.
Then I would like to spend determination.
Okay.
Using my value, decisive action saves lives, hesitation costs them, since that's the thing I'm arguing.
Yes, absolutely you may.
And then I will also use my Starcross, which will double the crit range. So I'll crit on my command's 4, so I'll crit on a 8 or lower.
Nice.
I would like to use my disarming nature, which is...
Okay.
Despite the reputation for being fierce warriors, Caitians are extremely sociable and adept at putting others at ease. So whenever you're engaged in a social conflict, you reduce the difficulty of any test you make your target relaxed and trust you by 1.
Okay. I just want to point out that that's just the sexy cat girl trait.
Yeah.
Okay.
And?
I'm just putting it out there. I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Okay. Just being clear. Just for context. I would also like to use a value if I'm allowed.
Generally, you're not supposed to be able to do that on assists, so I'm just gonna have you roll.
All right.
So roll 1 die. Commander Vah, you count as having already rolled a 2.
And
There's 2 additional, so you're at 4.
And I'm also gonna get a focus for diplomacy. Yes.
It doesn't matter. You already got 2.
I'm at 6 because that 1 should be a 2 with my Starcross.
I got 0.
Oh, that was your roll. I'm sorry. I thought that was captain's. All right, so yeah, you're at 4, 6, and then the captain didn't help. All right, so the case is dismissed. Everyone's sent off to separate little waiting rooms and whatnot while the judges deliberate in private. All right, and so
are me and Vah gonna talk about anything while they're delineating?
That's up to you two. You can also talk with Petty Officer Billy and Broken Chip if you want to. They're all here.
So, as they're dismissed, and we're about to walk away, I'm like, that. Let me put his name real quick.
Bitch.
That bastard Tarek. Let me tell you about Tarek. And then I see that there's an enlisted person here, and I say, later.
I'm gonna be we'll chat.
The bailiff nods to you. I'm like, okay.
We'll chat.
So I guess
back on the ship.
I guess we are not getting to vote on the death penalty.
I don't think death penalty was ever an option. Starfleet doesn't really do death penalty very much. There is, I believe, the only death penalty on the books in Starfleet is if you break the quarantine around Talos 4. That's a death penalty.
Oh, I didn't select.
Nah, that's a little bit far away from here.
Dapper, I rolled, but I didn't have my thing selected. You didn't tell me what I was selecting. I just hit insight. I just had insight.
Would that count for what is your command plus presence?
My command and presence is 16, and my insight and con is 7 and 3.
Yeah, so that would actually count. That is what is that? 7 successes then?
Yeah.
All right. Well then, hey, good news, Commander Vah. You have a pretty good chance.
High five! Ciao!
Yeah,
Other side.
Broken Chip floats over and says, even though I disagree with your decisions, it is not personal.
Oh.
I'm gonna step in front at this point, and are you like floating around head range?
Yes.
And I'm just like gonna grab you and start pushing you backwards, and be like, "It is not your turn."
All right. The bailiff appears and says, "The judges are ready for you."
We go back in.
All right. So, Admiral Hebert stands up as the ranking Starfleet officer here, and says, "Commander Vah, we have given significant consideration, and while we are disappointed with the outcome of this first contact, we do not find sufficient evidence that you acted in a manner that is worth a criminal punishment. However, we do feel like we do need more time to assess what happened, and that perhaps it would be appropriate for you to have a administrative but non-punitive leave of absence from your position as first officer, while we allow you to undergo any counseling that you might require, while you are allowed to go through whatever logs, and while we double check to see what is going on with this and how we can better handle this particular species in the future. So this will not be going in as any kind of disciplinary action. This is purely administrative and medical. So you are not in any further trouble. This will not be appearing on your service record as anything other than a medical leave. Do you have any questions for us?
Before I go on this administrative leave, can I get my necklace from the Kongzi?
Of course.
Thank you, Ed.
You're not allowed to kill anyone with it, though.
Can...
Not any more or less than any time else.
I just have a quick question. This is more of a player question. Vah can still take leave on the Kongzi.
This is going to be at Starbase, so that the Starbase medical teams can.
Yeah,
can work.
And because the time is ill-defined, if for some reason I can't attend tomorrow, then I'm still on medical leave.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to understand what was happening.
For some reason.
To be fair, the medical leave... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Jordan, have been in the military and have been put on "you're totally not being punished" leave, and it's a punishment.
Well, yeah. Starfleet is kinder and gentler than the U.S. Army, to be fair.
Because it's not a military.
Yeah. So basically, as you might be able to tell, Jordan isn't in his normal location. So there's a little bit of question as to the degree to which he'll be available for next time. So yeah, this is partly a way to excuse any potential absence, is that, yeah, there's going to be a little medical leave. And the next episode is actually going to be taking place like a few months from now. And this kind of medical leave is actually not of a set period. It's until Starfleet Medical gives you the okay, which means it can just take however long works for us. Because like many things in this game, this medical leave is going to happen at the speed of plot.
But the fact that you request to be removed from the front means that you try to preserve your own life, which means that by definition you are not crazy.
Well, no one's saying that Commander Vah is crazy. There's just questions about, like, is this causing any long-term mental stress, and, what...
It's called Catch-22.
Was there anything that you needed to work through before we send you back into potential combat scenarios?
Yeah,
sort of like
they've gotta come to my command
like
room and sip the tea.
Every time a police officer shoots someone, the next thing that happens is they're put on administrative leave, and there's a counselor that shows up. Now, I am not in any way saying that cops are the good guys in these situations, but what I am saying is Starfleet has a similar policy where if you're someone who just killed a bunch of people, justifiably or not, they're probably going to have you sit down and talk with some counselors.
It's a quote from Catch-22, where if you request to be removed from the front, then you can't be because you are sane. But if you don't request to be removed from the front, then you're technically insane, but you can't also not be removed because you have to request it.
Yeah, it is a bit of a catch-22 in that situation. But that's not the situation we find ourselves in. So everyone, thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone showing up and hanging out with us. I appreciate your generosity for those of you who super chatted or our members. The plan is to be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Yep, that's how time works. And whatever time that is over in Europe, I don't know, like 2 a.m. or something?
Yeah, 2 in the morning.
Yeah, all right.
2 in the morning for me, 1 in the morning for Craig.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, that'll be us, and hopefully Jordan will be there, but if he isn't, man, apparently Commander Vah really did have some stuff to work through.
Someone else has to shoot the helpless aliens.
Canonically, our engineer has helped Vah through some stress from passing, so Vah, canonically in character, is very pro-therapy.
True, that's true. So hey, maybe Commander Vah doesn't even actually think of this as a non-punishment punishment. Maybe she actually does think of this as an appropriate thing for her to do. All right, bye everybody. I hope that everyone had a great time. If you didn't see it, I had a premiere earlier today, so go check that out on my main channel.
Is it still running?
No, it just finished.
Okay. Then see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.